In the summer of 1945, Berlin was a city in ruins. Bombed buildings stood empty and broken. Streets were piled high with rubble. The people moved slowly, their eyes heavy with exhaustion and worry. They searched for food, clean water, and any small sign of hope. Among them was Anna, a young teacher who lived in the Soviet sector, the eastern part of the city. Not far away, across an invisible line, lived Stefan, a musician who played piano in small cafes in the American sector, the western part of Berlin. Soon after the war ended, 4 armies arrived to decide Germany's future. Soldiers from the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the Soviet Union each claimed 1/4 of Berlin. At first, everyone believed this plan would bring peace. Anna had faith that learning and kindness could help rebuild the city. Stefan dreamed of playing joyful music for people who had suffered so much. Early in September, Anna sent her first letter to a child in the western sector through a small program she helped start called the Pen Pal Club. Stefan heard about this club from friends in a nearby cafe, and he wrote a warm reply, describing the lively sounds of jazz he played late at night. The idea of children on both sides exchanging letters brought a small spark of light to their days. Life in the eastern sector was very different from life in the west. In Anna's neighborhood, long lines formed every morning before the baker's shop. People queued for hours just to buy a single loaf of bread. The government ran all the factories and farms. Even simple words carried weight. If someone spoke too freely, the local officers might listen and take them away for questioning. Anna taught her students to speak carefully. In her classroom, she introduced a secret pen pal club for children. They wrote letters using safe code words. Bluebird meant I am hopeful, and sunrise meant I miss you. Every week, Anna collected these letters and passed them along through trusted helpers who moved quietly between sectors. Meanwhile, in the western sector, Stefan walked through busy streets filled with music and laughter. Open-air markets offered fresh fruit and vegetables from friendly farmers. In cafes, people gathered to share coffee, pastries, and news from other parts of the world. Stefan played the piano for anyone who would listen. After each performance, he smiled at the audience and quietly tucked a small note into his piano bench. He hoped someone from the East might find it and learn that music could cross any border. One evening, he even spoke to a drawing class of children, offering to send them simple sketches of musical notes as a gift. The children in Anna's Pen Pal Club received these drawings and placed them carefully in their letters. In their secret story circles, they passed the pictures from hand to hand, sharing dreams of colorful concerts beyond the ruins. Despite the distance and the border, Anna and Stefan felt connected through these small acts of friendship. Anna often stood on her balcony at dusk and looked toward the western sky. She saw the warm glow of street lamps in Stefan's sector and imagined what it would be like to hear live piano music under those lights. "Freedom is just a street away," she whispered to herself. At the same moment, Stefan would close his eyes and play a gentle chord progression, hoping Anna might hear it in her dreams. He felt a pang of guilt that he could walk freely through lively streets while Anna lived under strict rules. Yet he also felt gratitude that his music could bring comfort to people who lived in fear. In both parts of the city, people began to share simple words that carried deep meaning. Hope became their quiet password. When children read Anna's letters, they learned new words like ruins, zone, and rebuild. When adults heard Stefan play his piano, they felt a brief moment of joy and understood that kindness could survive even in broken places. The Pen Pal Club grew slowly. More and more letters crossed the invisible line, carried by brave helpers who believed that friendship could heal old wounds. In every letter, a child might draw a picture of a bird in flight, or write about a song that made them smile. As autumn approached and the sky turned cool and gray, Berlin still lay in rubble. Yet in hidden corners and quiet classrooms, the city's spirit moved forward. Anna and Stefan did not know what the future would bring. They could not see how the city might change in the years ahead, but they both held tight to one simple truth. Even in a city divided into two worlds, people could still reach across walls with words, music, and hope. And that hope, however small, was the first step toward rebuilding not only buildings and streets, but also the hearts of everyone who called Berlin home. On the night of August 13th, 1961, Anna was awakened by sudden noises outside her window. She heard metal poles being driven into the ground and sharp cracks as wire stretched across the street. By morning, a thin barrier of barbed wire cut her neighborhood in two. Soldiers stood at every corner. In the following days, the wire was replaced by tall concrete slabs. The loud hum of drills and cranes became the new soundtrack of Berlin. Life in East Berlin changed suddenly and deeply. Anna joined her neighbors in long lines each morning just to buy milk and bread. Shops often had empty shelves. Fresh fruits and cheeses were rare treats. At night, Anna gathered her small group of students in her living room for a secret story circle. They whispered code words to share kindness and hope. When someone said bluebird, it meant, I believe in tomorrow. When they said sunrise, it meant, I miss my friends. Each person spoke softly, afraid that someone might overhear. Meanwhile, in West Berlin, Stefan could still walk freely through busy streets. Markets brimmed with colorful fruit, and open-air cafes offered warm pastries and strong coffee. Stefan turned the new wall into a way to help others. He organized a book bridge program. Every month, volunteers from the West filled plain boxes with storybooks, puzzles, and drawings. They carried these boxes to a single point where helpers from the East quietly picked them up. Anna's students found these treasures and read the stories in hushed voices. The pictures and words opened their minds to distant lands and new ideas. The wall itself felt cold and heavy. Anna pressed her hand against the rough concrete, feeling its chill in her palm. Stefan sometimes tiptoed to the fence and tapped a gentle rhythm on the slats. He hoped that Anna or one of her neighbors might hear a faint echo. On special evenings, he played soft piano chords facing the wall. Across the barrier, Anna and her friends huddled close to the window, listening to the distant music. For a few moments, they forgot about lines, barbed wire, and empty shops. Families and friendships were torn apart. Once, Stefan ran to the border fence to wave at Anna. She rushed to meet him but could not pass. Tears blurred her vision as she watched him turn away. He stood there on the other side, his hand raised in a sad goodbye. Anna held her palm to the concrete where his fingers had just been, tracing the cold surface with her own fingertips. Despite the hardships, small acts of kindness brought warmth. Anna and her students wrote simple letters on plain paper, folding them into tiny envelopes. They used code words to share smiles across the wall. Stefan welcomed school children from the East for secret drawing lessons. He filled his notebooks with sketches of musical notes and handed them through a small gap in the fence. In return, the children sent back simple poems about hope and freedom. Each morning, Anna walked past the concrete barrier on her way to teach. She saw gray slabs lined up like tall, silent sentinels. Graffiti artists from the West painted bright murals on the western face of the wall. Flowers, doves, and messages like freedom for all. Anna wished she could see these paintings up close. She imagined one day strolling along a painted path, her students by her side reading the messages aloud. In the evenings, Stefan met a small circle of friends near the wall. They shared tea and stories of life before the barrier. One friend carried a small radio that picked up music from London. They passed the radio through a tiny hole in the fence so that Anna's circle could hear pop songs they had never known. For a few minutes, laughter and music carried across the concrete. Still, the wall stood firm, dividing streets, families, and lives. Anna taught her students new words each week: barrier, divide, bridge, and echo. They practiced saying these words in sentences about their own lives. At the end of every lesson, Anna reminded them that language, like music, could cross any barrier when people shared it with care. By the time autumn leaves began to fall, the wire and concrete felt like part of everyday life. But Anna and Stefan did not lose hope. In secret gatherings, they planned new ways to connect their two worlds. Anna taught her young pen pals to fold small paper cranes and send them through a hidden crack in the wall. Stefan recorded short piano pieces on tapes and passed them along the fence at night. Each paper bird and each melody was a gentle promise that walls could never stop human kindness, that hearts on both sides still beat together in shared hope. In the mid-1980s, quiet talk of change reached East Berlin. People whispered about glasnost and perestroika, ideas that promised more freedom. Anna and Stefan felt hope stirring in their hearts. Late at night, they met in hidden rooms with a few friends to sing in the Hope Choir. They used old cassette tapes to record simple songs about togetherness and peace. Anna's clear voice blended with Stefan's gentle piano. Though they met in secret, their music gave them real courage. On November 9th, 1989, Anna heard a surprising announcement on the radio. An official said travel rules were ending immediately. At first, people did not believe it. Then crowds gathered at the border. Soldiers stood at the checkpoints, unsure what to do. As the people pushed forward, some guards stepped aside and opened the gates. Anna and Stefan ran toward each other. They fell into a tight embrace and cried together. The concrete wall that stood between them felt weak and old. People poured through the open gates in both directions. Anna climbed on a piece of broken wall and laughed. Stefan climbed beside her and played a few happy piano notes. Strangers cheered and clapped. Families reunited. Old friends hugged and wiped away tears. The wall, which had stood for nearly 30 years, now lay in pieces. Each fallen slab became a symbol of freedom and hope. Soon, volunteers from both sides organized a mural project on the remains of the wall. They cleared away broken concrete and painted long stretches of bright color. Children drew doves and rainbows. Parents painted messages like, "We are one" and "Peace now." Anna helped outline a strong tree with deep roots. Stefan added musical notes that wound around its branches. Every brushstroke was a promise that Berlin would grow together again. In the months that followed, Berlin began to heal. Anna returned to her classroom without fear. She taught her students new words like reunite, celebrate, and freedom. Stefan opened a small music school where children from both East and West learned piano and violin side by side. They practiced simple songs about friendship and shared them in weekly gatherings. Every Sunday, they played together under the old Brandenburg Gate as a living sign of unity. Old shops in East Berlin filled again with fresh bread and bright fruit. Neighbors from the West helped repair houses and plant flowers in the East. Workers from both sides joined to remove the last pieces of concrete. They laughed as they passed buckets of paint and started new projects. Families who had been divided celebrated birthdays and holidays together for the first time in decades. Grandparents held grandchildren they had never seen grow up. Small sections of the original wall still stand in parks and squares as monuments. Visitors touch the rough surface and remember the past. Anna and Stefan often walk hand in hand along these paths. They point to the colorful murals and share stories with young learners who ask curious questions. As they look at the old concrete, they smile and say that hope can turn walls into bridges. Bennett. Nothing can ever erase that lesson. When walls fall, hearts unite. In the end, Anna and Stefan's journey shows us how people can stay hopeful and kind, even when walls try to keep them apart. They lived through hard times in a broken city. Anna stood in long lines for bread and water. Stefan played piano in busy cafes, offering comfort with music. When the concrete wall rose between East and West Berlin, they found secret ways to connect. Anna taught children to share coded letters and stories. Stefan organized volunteers to carry books and drawings across the barrier. Even when the city felt cold and divided, their small acts of friendship and art brought warmth and unity. Years later, the wall finally fell. Anna and Stefan were among the first to cross the open gates. They embraced, laughed, and cried with strangers who soon became neighbors and friends. Together they painted bright murals on the broken concrete. They rebuilt homes, schools, and parks. In classrooms and music schools, they helped a new generation learn words like reunite, freedom, and hope lives on. The gray scars of division gave way to colorful pictures of doves, rainbows, and joined hands. Their city became a living proof that walls can fall when people refuse to give up on each other. The deep lesson from Anna and Stefan's story is that hope and kindness can cross any barrier. Even when situations feel impossible, a gentle word, a shared song, or a simple drawing can bring people closer. In our daily lives, we may face walls of fear, misunderstanding, or conflict. We can choose to build small bridges instead. We can listen without judgment, share a friendly message, or help someone in need. These small steps can turn a divided moment into a chance for connection. Congratulations. By listening to Anna and Stefan's story, you have practiced your English listening and comprehension skills. To check your understanding, here is a quick question. Which small act helped Anna and Stefan stay connected across the wall? A. Writing coded letters and sharing stories. B. Building a taller wall. Please comment A or B below. We would love to hear your answer. If you enjoyed this story and want more simple, inspiring English learning content, please subscribe to our channel. Your support gives us the motivation to create more free lessons for you. If you can, consider donating. Every contribution helps cover our costs and keep these lessons free, so we can continue helping learners like you. Thank you for learning with us.